I'm Andrew Spencer reporting.
Now, of course, as the Supreme Court decides this, we want to go a little in depth and find out what the legal aspects are. We've got Kwame Thompson on Skype with Wooderson, Thompson, and Valburn. Kwame, how are you?
I'm doing fine. Good evening.
Let's get right into it. Doing well, man. They're saying the Supreme Court, that no one really knows how they're going to rule. Of course, the voters in California with Proposition 8 voted one way, but the Supreme Court of California said something else. How do you think the Supreme Court of the United States is going to rule on Prop 8 first?
Well, there are two issues that we must look at. One is the issue of standing. And so if the Supreme Court makes a ruling on whether the parties who are opposing Proposition 8 don't have a legal standing, because standing comes from Article 3 of the Constitution. You have to have a real controversy, and you must be someone who's going to be affected or damaged by a decision. So that's going to be one issue, whether standing. Now, if the proponents can overcome that hurdle, then we're going to be looking at the standard of review for Proposition 8.
Exactly. So how does that lead to the Defense of Marriage Act? When you're looking at both of those and putting those, pitting one against the other, obviously one's a state right, one's a constitutional issue. How does it sit with DOMA? Might it be overturned?
Well, under DOMA, which is a federal law in which the federal government recognizes the institution of marriage as between a woman and a man for federally mandated purposes, and that's important because that means federally mandated programs such as Social Security. Now, that is going to be separate than the state issues of the Proposition 8, but the scrutiny that's going to come in is that the government, well, the Supreme Court is going to look at whether they use the standard of review, which is going to be that of a rational reason. Is there a rational reason why Proposition 8 exists, or more solid scrutiny,
or
there is some heightened government objective? And
Understood.
I think it's going to be hard for Californians to prove.
And the interesting part is, I'm wondering, and you may not be able to answer this, we got to wrap up quickly, but I know there's a lesbian couple that kind of brought this to the courts where one had to end up paying a $600,000+ estate tax fee. And the question then goes, would they get that money back from the federal government since they had to pay that? And had they been married, they'd been together 40 years, they wouldn't have had to pay the estate taxes. So really quickly, do you think they get that money back from the IRS?
Well, I can't speak on that. That's going to be whether the actual Proposition 8 would be retroactive or not.
Good stuff, good stuff. Kwame Thompson, Wooderson, Thompson, and Valburn, thank you so much for joining us now. Remember, once the High Court hears the arguments, they'll go into conference at the end of the week, and they will publish an opinion sometime between May and July.